It's a moon's going away party. Welcome, folks. Adios, Luna. Is that a nail? Wait, a little nail. Coffin. Last nail. There. So what are we doing? We're going to finish up with this moon gravitational pull thing, okay? If you put a young child, on a desert island, and you abandon him there, with good food, obviously, loads of bottles of milk and stuff, but he never, ever interacted with another human being, like a Truman thing, isolated. That child, when it grew up, would never know where it came from. It would never know that another human being gave birth to it. It would just not know, would it? It's what we're taught. There's a certain amount of trust, isn't there, with our teachers and our parents and stuff. But it has seriously been breached, all of it, because of everything that we've been taught. The majority of it is lies. It just is. Now this moon gravity thing is a perfect example. What we have behind me, yesterday was the new moon, okay? 14th of July. This is yesterday, 14th of July, down the east coast, just the east coast of Australia, and a couple of others on the other side here. From Cairns down to Newcastle. I'm here, Bundy. We start in Cairns and we go down to Newcastle. All right? This is about the tides and how it is not the moon. The new moon. It checks out for a couple of days, doesn't it? Just poof. Moon. Tides, some of the highest. They are the highest right now. Because the sun, the moon are both in line, and then comes us. And they're trying to take the water away. But they're not. Where is the Luna right now? They say we can't see it because of the sun. So when the sun has set and it's night time, usually we see the moon. But because of the angle that we're at, and the moon is at, and the sun is at, we don't see it. So Earth is behind us, behind me. I'm the moon. I've got my back to Earth, dark, and the front of me is being beamed on by the sun. Bang! But Earth cannot see even a flicker. No, like we have the Earth shine. Nothing. That's very weird. It just is very weird. People just accepting, yeah, no, it's okay. We wouldn't see it. Where is the moon right now? Where does it go? Where does it go? During a solar eclipse, no, I'm not going to say the sun is directly behind the moon, but it is. During a solar eclipse, we see the sun. We don't see the moon approaching it, do we? We just see, totally out of nowhere, something is blocking the sun. And it moves across the sun, takes 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and then everybody's oohing, eyeing, the animals are all going quiet, people are freaking out, and totality right there. And then the moon stops. for 8 minutes in the US, wasn't it? 7, 8 minutes of totality. What happened to it moving across the face of the sun? What happened to that? It didn't move. It parked up for 8 minutes. Sometimes they're shorter. I think 8 minutes is the maximum, but one of the longest. What is that? What is that? People don't talk about it. And then, it's not that the moon is moving away from the sun. Something is uncovering the sun again. Because once again, we do not see the moon. As soon as it's just cleared the sun, we don't see it out. There's nothing. It's strange. What is that? It's the same as the tide coming up. Boom, stopping that slack tide for up to an hour. And then back she goes, the same way it came in. How is the moon and Earth spinning going to cater for that impossible effect? And it is impossible on a spinning globe with a moon that's orbiting us, pulling the tides, gravitational pull. I want to know where the sun goes, where the moon goes. Right now, it has literally checked out. It's gone. We would see it. Don't tell me that we wouldn't see it if the sun is shining on the moon that's up there. Just because it's got its back to us, we would see some kind of glare. You see how it shines, okay? It's this, the absurdities are, where do we, there's nowhere else to put them now. We're just absolutely blocker with absurdities. They're everywhere. Everything is a lie. Cairns. All of these, every single blue one is in the AM, early this morning, or early yesterday morning, all right? All of these are in the AM, apart from Grafton, it's in the PM. Here we go, Cairns. We're starting here, the destination is Newcastle. Look, just about all of these places here, right? Just gone 3 in the morning, low tide. Coming up to 9 o'clock, high tide in the morning, high tide. Mission Beach, here. Same thing, 3:10, 2 minutes earlier, and 8:39, 1 minute later for the high tide. Magnetic Island, bang. 3:20 in the morning, low tide, 8:40, high tide. This lot, perfect. That's what we expect everywhere. That's it. Why should I even carry on? The first 3 are perfect, aren't they? We get to the Whitsundays. So we've gone Cairns, Mission Beach, Magnetic Islands, Whitsunday. 10 to 5 in the morning was the low tide. Now that's an hour and a half later. 10:26, the high tide. Then we go to Bundy, where I'm at, boom. And we back the horses up again, back to 3:26 low tide, 8:48 high tide. These are the normal time spans, about 5 to 6 hours in between. It's always give or take a few minutes here and there. The Whitsundays one is the same, 4:50 to 10:26, the 5-6 hour thing. What isn't normal is the time of it, when it's slotted in amongst the weird there. It's out. Bulge, let's continue. So we've got Bundaberg, 3:26, 8:48 AM, high tide. Noosa, so Bundy's there, Noosa's there. Just gone 2 o'clock in the morning. Again, now we're an hour and a half, roughly. Earlier. 7:40, an hour and a bit earlier. Brisbane. Noosa, Brisbane is right there. Brisbane, 4:15. Just over 2 hours later, the high tide in Brizzy. It's right next to it. High tide, 9:50. 2 hours, right? Then we've got the Gold Coast, is there. Bang, back to 2:20. Low tide, 8 o'clock, high tide. Byron Bay, seems like we're settling again. Byron Bay, there. Just gone 2 o'clock in the morning, low tide. Coming up to 8 o'clock, high tide. Grafton, from Byron Bay, we go to Grafton. 6:30 in the morning. That's 4.5 hours later. There's a high tide. At midday, with all the other places are 7, 8 o'clock. At midday is the high tide. So what is that all about? The difference. Look, Byron Bay, Grafton, and then Coffs Harbour, you could throw a baseball from Grafton to Coffs Harbour. And then look, 2 o'clock in the morning again. 4.5 hours difference. Coming up to 8 o'clock for the high tide. Look, right here, you cannot think that this is a bulge. We're spinning this way, right? That way. So the bulge is coming from east to west. The bulge, this is where it comes up. This is where it comes up. We see it come up from here. So the moon, bulge, bulge, bulge. There's no bulge. There's no splishy splashy. There's no spinning. There's no gravitational pull from the moon. If there were, this would be a lot more uniform. It's a fact. Now there are people saying, well, why should we believe you over all of the scientists? Why would anybody need scientists? You have the information here. This is information without emotion. It's information. It's painting a picture of what is happening. Why do we need a scientist to tell us what? That it's the moon's gravitational pull because of Newton? It isn't. And it's a lack of common sense to believe it is. So maybe they just don't have any common sense. The teachers that we trusted so much to tell us the truth, is it a case that they've just been teaching what they were taught? And just like everybody else, they didn't think to question it. I want to be a teacher, teach this. Okay, this looks a bit weird. Do you want to be a teacher? Yes, then shut up and teach what we have given you. Let's call it like it is. I could never, I'd love to be a teacher, but it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, would it? It just wouldn't work. Port Macquarie and then Newcastle, back to normal. It isn't the moon doing anything to the water. This gravitational force, which part of the oceans is it pulling? Like the top, the bottom, the middle, all of it? Certain molecules and the rest catch up? What's going on? Nothing is going on. This isn't a sign of something pulling, an invisible force pulling at it while the same invisible force is keeping it on Earth, and they're having a tussle and we're spinning and that's why all this chaos. No, we're not moving, and something else is displacing the water. Comes up, stops for up to an hour, and then it drops back the same way that it came. I'm not talking about just rivers here. This is when you go out the front fishing, anywhere in the world. Anybody who has fished, anybody who has messed about with boats. Think about it. It comes, current pushes the boat back, the anchor bites and it stops. There's a slack tide for a period, and when that period is over, it goes back the same way it came. How can that be a continuous bulge? It doesn't make any sense. It just isn't any bulge. It isn't gravitational force. Something is displacing the water. There is no splishy, splashy, spinny going on. I then just added Esperance down here and Albany, which is right there. I know, I started on here again. I didn't think I was going to use two boards. It just happens, okay? Esperance. Now, this is yesterday, the 14th. Wednesday. So this is yesterday morning early. Now let's look at this. High tide. Just gone at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? That was high tide. Low tide coming up to 3 o'clock in the morning. That's an hour and a half. We've gone from high to low in 1.5 hours. We then go from low to high in, look, nearly 3, just gone 11. That's 8 hours. Hour and a half from high to low, 8 hours from the low to the high. 11:04 in the morning. 7:10 p.m. in the evening was the next low. That's 8 hours. 8 hours and 6 minutes. That's 7:10 last night, yesterday evening. We now go into Wednesday from 7:10 to 1:20 in the morning. That's about right, 6 hours. And then 1:20 high tide to 3:47 in the morning, low tide. That's 2 hours, 27 minutes. High to low in 2:27. And then low to high, 3:11, 8 hours again. What's going on with that? It's taking an hour to go from the high to the low, hour and a half, dropping, and then it rises for 8 hours, but this way, for 8 hours, and then it drops for an hour and a bit, and it rises. How can you think it's the moon? I can understand it 2 weeks ago. If you've been watching what I've been saying, I'm not making stuff up. How on earth can it be the moon pulling on the water? It isn't happening. This flat earth thing for me, I said this the other day, I don't know if I did or I didn't, so many of these. I had to know what was going on with the moon. When I started to look at this flat earth, the first thing that came to my mind was, if it's flat, what is going on right now? This is when I was fairly convinced it was round. I'm saying to myself, well, if it's flat, what's happening with the water? If it's flat, what is the moon? Imposter. It's lying to us, right? This is my train of thought. So I spent 2 days nutting it out with the moon, the spinning globe, and the flat, and that is when I went through things with a fairly fine tooth comb. And I realised that there is no link between the moon and the tides. On TV, it's one of the things, there's more of this stuff.
If you spend some time around the ocean, you may notice something kind of strange happens. The water level goes up and down every day. We call these rhythmic changes the tide.
And the next one. Ads. We didn't need ads, but I don't know. It's like the speed of light once. There there is one after another, tides, the moon, the bulge, the moon phases, the this, the that. How tides work. Head of science. Who is leading primary science? This, now they show the Bay of Fundy, right? It's ice.
This shows 12 hours at the famous Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, Canada.
I could put it on the iPad.
It's the biggest tide change in the world. But what force?
There's one after another, and they all are saying it's the moon. They're wrong. Some of them are just flat out lying. Others, they believe it. They believe what they've been taught. They believe what they've been taught, and they don't go into these things as far as I'm going into them. The reason for this is because they cannot be objective. It's what they have been taught. They're just passing it on. They're passing the horseradish on. Nobody's questioning it. It's time to question loads of the science. Seriously, this is big because it's the gravitational pull from the moon. We, humanity as a whole, we've been lied to and we've been made to believe that it is the moon pulling on the water as we're spinning. Splishy splashy, splishy splashy, splashy land. But it's not spinning. It's not spinning. First of all, this is a big one. There's no curvature. I'm not sure where the globers keep getting their curvature from, but there is none. All these people that give it this, all the comments, right? None of them, guarantee you, not more than 1% of them have done their own observations, but they still think that they're within their rights to comment. But the people who do that without having done an observation of their own are simply presuming, right? Because you are. I had to do one before I could carry on saying what I'm saying, because it didn't feel right me commenting. I was so sure, but it didn't feel right me commenting on flat Earth without having done my own little, in my bubble, observation. iPhone, that one. Telescope. Seen the footage, it's there. It's YouTube, Rumble, everywhere, Facebook, TikTok. I couldn't even see the light on the top of that boat with the naked eye. You know, you just about see the pylons. This boat was way past the pylons. Couldn't see it. And I was looking for the pylons. I was just zooming, like panning across, and bang, there it was. Just pure fluke. What the fuck is that? I look above. See the boat going round. I don't know what it was doing, but all of it, 8 centimeters per kilometer. It was way past 10 kilometers. Even if it were just 10 kilometers, that's 80 centimeters, right? It was further than that. But I was seeing loads of the hull, like it was just over there. This is my own personal observation, and once again, it is posted. That for me, with everything else, I've worked out with the facts and a bit of common sense, it's flat. All this stuff that keeps coming up, these globers that are saying, well, how can it be if they can't account for this? And the people posting those things, they know it's flat, most of them. They're just people. Their job is to fool people. You cannot comment on the flat round thing unless you have done an observation of your own. If you do comment without doing one, you're basically a fool. You are, because you're just believing the hype. Because loads of people are going, the majority thing, oh yeah, but what about this? Oh yeah, you're with them, aren't you? Oh yeah, no, what about this? Yeah. Shut up. Do something. Go and do something, a personal observation. Until then, you're just noise. Because once you do a proper observation, either way, you'll find that it's flat. There is no curvature. People that keep saying, yes, there is. There isn't. There is no curvature as a pancake, really. Now, where were we? Asparagus, so we did this, didn't we? 120 to the low, an hour and a half, and then 8 hours to the high, and so on. The same with Albany. High at 10:55 a.m. yesterday morning. The low was at 7:25 p.m. That's nearly 11, just gone 7. That's 8 hours, just over 8 hours from the high to the low. From the high to the low. Here, from the high to the low, it was an hour and a half. Asparagus, there, in Albany, it's from the high to the low, 8 hours. This is not a dragging, a force, pulling on the water. From the top, from the bottom, from the middle, from the sides, where, what? It's being displaced. Underneath, this current's going everywhere. It is not a gravitational force. I said that there are loads of tides all over Earth, all doing different things. This right here, it's 2/3 of the east coast of Australia. The bulge is supposed to be coming this way. There is no bulge, folks. You're going to have to accept the fact that there is no bulge. There is no gravitational force from the moon onto the water. Not saying that there isn't 1/6 of gravity. When they went to the moon, calma. Close one. This is a big one. It's a massive gravity, Newton. It's there for the taking. All you have to do is to be objective and accept the facts. A fact is information without emotion. No teddy bear throwing. No getting the shits. It's information without emotion. It's a fact. I am handsome. Angers people, but it's a fact, right? There is nothing you can do about the facts. You cannot throw teddies into the corner. It's not the moon. It is not the moon. You're going, it is the moon. It's not. Stop being silly. Now, I was always, I think, and I go to the next level, and then I go to the next level. And I have the tide chart. Because I know this tide chart quite well by now. It's the Bundaberg, right? Ray Bying's Guns and Fishing. Right, and it's the 2026 Bundaberg Burnett. Try to look at the state of it already. Scribbled all over it so many times. Now, seeing the tide chart, you look full moon, new moon, you can see a pattern, but you can't really. Now, don't worry, this comes at no extra cost. It's all in the included price. It's all inclusive stuff. You don't pay any extra, okay? So I put the tide chart onto here. Move that way. About there. Now, what we have, this is not about, I'm saying not about the tide, this is about this pattern, right? Bundaberg 2026, right? The blues, it's the full moon, January, February, March, April, May, June. The reds, it's the new moon. So we are now in July 14th. Today is the 15th. Let's mark that so we have something to, today is the 15th. Right? That's us. New moon. Look, I want to start with the full moons. 3rd of Jan, 2nd of Feb, 3rd of March, 2nd of April, 2nd of May. Huh? Now, I knew there was a pattern there, but you can't really see it on the tide chart the way it's written out. The new moon, the same. Obviously, it's good. Give or take, up, down, and then up, like that. But it goes from the 19th, this is a new moon, the date of the 19th, in 1 year, so there's like 12 or 13 of them, and it's gone to the 9th. That's, say 9th, yeah, it's 10 days. It's shifted 10 days. And I started to think, it's out of sync, isn't it? So what's going on? So you dig deeper, and then you find out that in the lunar year, right, there's only 354 days in the lunar year. In the solar year, there's 365, which is what we use. So now we're starting to get into this, it's getting a bit complicated, because before we came along, before anybody went, right, this is a second, this is a minute, this is a week, before all of that, the moon and the sun would have been doing their thing, wouldn't they? They would have been in unison somehow, no matter how we look at it. The natural forces of whatever. So when you hear that the lunar year has 354 days and the solar year has 365 days, what thought goes through people's minds? I'm thinking, so even before we came along, the moon, sun, was out of sync. The forces of nature were out of sync. It doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't make sense. Now, it is said that the Romans added January and February because there were 2 months after December. There was 2 months, give or take, of very cold weather, and it was just unorganised. There were no months, no names. It was just no man's land. This is what it was. This is what it said. And the Romans thought, hang on, let's give it January and February, Januaribilis and Februaribilis or something, and then we had 12 months. But those 12 months, 31, 28, 31, 30, 31, 30, 31, 31. It's weird. It is weird. Listen, it would take a lot of digging, more than this. This is just the surface, to understand what is being said, to find out if it's true. Because it could even be a case of they're just throwing people's natural body clocks out of sync. The harmony with the moon and the seasons and stuff. I bet you any amount of money that before anybody came along, the sun and the moon and earth didn't have this, right, we're going to have 21 days here and 8 days over there, and then we'll do a 7, 8, 7. It would have just worked. It would have just worked. And what seems to have happened is, instead of us just joining like a motorway, when you join and you get in the acceleration lane and you just merge in, what's happened is we've been told to park the car up, and we're joining this thing at a different speed in a wrong place at the wrong time. We're in the wrong clothes and everything is out. They seem to be lying about everything. I find it very difficult to believe that the sun, earth and moon weren't in sync in their own special way. But what's happened, somebody's just hijacked everything, our reality, everything to do with our reality. In fact, they're making us question our reality while they're eating all the lollies, right? So after this, the Romans came up with Jan and Feb. It was the Gregorian calendar, I do believe, and it's 12 months. It goes along with the seasons. Now, if it's 12 months now and it goes along with the seasons, that means we've lost synchronicity with the moon. Look, I'm not a scientist, but I do have common sense. And there is something amiss, right? Something very amiss with just everything. But to believe that the moon has something to do with the tides, after everything that I've been going over, it would just mean a lack of being able to absorb new information. Now, after I saw this, I said to myself, right, let me make from March to December 10 months with the same amount of days in between each one. So I did, didn't I? At no extra cost to you guys, all right? So, what we have here, now it used to start, allegedly, I am going with what we have been told. That's all we can do. And from there, we analyze and discard stuff. So I started at March. So forget Jan and Feb. That green one there is the 3rd, right? So that's the only green one on this board. That's where I started here. Now, it's all of it, all the way through. It's 15. We've got in between new, full. It's 15, 14, 15 days, 14 days. What's that? Is that 9? 15 days, 14 days, 15, 16, 14. That is the amount of days in between the full moon and the new moon. Now you'd think, would you not think that would always be the same? If we didn't have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if we didn't have January, February, March, April, May, if we didn't have the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, would you not think that the time between March's full moon and March's new moon would be the same amount of time that would be between April's full moon and April's new moon? And that would be the same as the time between May's full moon and so on. Would you not think that if we were not here, that they would be the same? Why would it change? Why would it change? The moon going around and the sun. Why would it be 14 days, then 15 days, then back to 14 days, then 16, there's two 16s there I think, and then back to 15, and then 15 again, then 15 again, then 14, then 16. Is that a logical thought? It isn't. It isn't. Why would they chop and change? It would be a slow, gradual changing from maybe 15 days to 16 days over I don't know how long, or a slow from 15 to 14 days over a long period of time. It wouldn't change every month, would it? Does sunrise change? Well, it does because of the tilt. You must know what I mean. It's illogical. So, again, from where I'm looking at things, it feels like they've hijacked our body clocks, our synchronicity with the moon, with the sun, with everything. Everything's out. Everything is out. And the lies are everywhere. It pays to be objective and waking up right now. Seriously, I'm not making this stuff up. It's pretty obvious what's we're at the mercy of liars and charlatans. And it always comes back to the Mickey Mouse science. It's always the fucking science. If we were not here, or if we were here, but we didn't tell the moon and the sun and earth, and we were just quiet observers, without the Jan, Feb, March, without the 1, 2, 3, 4, without the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I bet you anything, it would all be like clockwork. It would have to be. It would have to be. There's not this mixing and matching and the moon catching up and slowing down, the sun going, whoa, moon, back there, 2 days, yeah, No, it just all flows. We were supposed to just all flow with the flow of things. But everything has been mixed up. They've muddied the waters, made everything seem complicated, and it isn't. It was not supposed to be like this. And as you can see, I've crammed 12 months into 10, but there's only 30 days. So that's 300 days. Here, it's the 365. But my point is, from March, we have 19 to number 9. That's a difference of 10, right? Here, we're on 19, it goes to 13. So there's only a difference of 6 days. Now, it's 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. That women's period as well, right? Is it not? Don't they say somewhere between 25 and 35 days. Would it not just clink perfectly into there seems to be so many things that have been disrupted. There could be something in common. The moon, women's periods, fertilization, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of coincidences and a lot of lies being told. It was not supposed to be this complicated. That is a guarantee. We've been hijacked. There are rogues. There are rogues creating chaos. And with the falls as well. Here, far out. I mean, it ends up 24. It is not the moon. Something else is displacing the water on Earth, all right? I might have to turn that light off, or at least move it. Believe it. Less than a year ago, I was like, I don't know, guys. But the power of being able to be objective, you have no idea what a luxury it is. Because it doesn't matter what it is. If something doesn't make sense, it does not matter how long believed something. It just goes into the trash can. Because if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And so much doesn't make sense. 47, dang. It's going to be one of those, isn't it? This is the old sun thing. Norway, east coast of Australia. I'm looking up my northerly horizon, northeast. Norway's doing the same. That sun would be along here somewhere. There is no way that it's 150 million kilometers that way. We don't both look up like that. The angle is impossible. You can't even understand that one. People going back and forth. No, they can be seeing the same. No, not at that angle. Not Norway looking across its horizon and me here in Australia looking above, just above my horizon. That is not an angle that joins 150 million kilometers away. That angle is an angle that has to be here somewhere. It's like, it's a fact. It is a fact, right? We've got the globe right there. There's Norway, right? Facing that way. That is the direction their sun is in when they're seeing that midnight sun. This direction right here. Not going to move anything. Now look at Australia, right? Can you see it there somewhere? I am looking, I'm going to try and keep it where it's supposed to be, about there. But I am looking up there, like that. How are these two joining 150 million kilometers away? They're not. Bang, they're close. The thing is, people commenting going, no, it's in front of you. Fact is information without emotion. Those angles cannot be aiming at 150 million clicks away. It isn't possible. Therefore, the sun when Norway is looking up at their midnight sun, and I am looking at my morning sun, it's somewhere there. Drop off. That's what I put that there for. It's a fact. All you have to do is get a couple of sticks and aim them. God, the amount, it's like so many people are commenting, not understanding what we're talking about possibly. You just have to give it this, same as the people who are convinced it's round without having done any observations of their own. They're just believing, presuming because everybody else is. No, it's round, it's what we've been taught. We've been lied to, folks. Big time, big time. North Pole. That's the North Pole. Norway. Bristol Channel. Bay of Fundy. And Garva Bay being there. The Cook Inlet, Alaska. All of them. Up north. Central. Up north. On the globe, they're all at the top. They're all 25 to 30 degrees. Look, on the flat, the highest tides, 4 highest tides on Earth are all here. How is that possible if the moon is orbiting along here? Look, we cannot flog a dead horse, okay? But I urge people to think about what they're believing, right? Because we don't have much time left. Wake up. Look, I'm going to call it there. I'm just going to read. Oh! Right, just a little bit. From the 1961. It's purely about the tides. Page and a half. Let's finish off. 1961. The Book of Popular Science. You guys can gaze at the flat earth as I read. It's only a couple of pages. Let me gaffer. My glasses, not now. Not now. It's the trouble with doing these things on the fly. Right, I'm just going to pause you while I find my flipping spectacles. Right, here we are. This is the most disarray I've been in for a long time. This shed looks like 12 bombs have gone off. The tides. Right? The ceaseless ebb and flow of ocean waters. Just a couple of pages. The periodic rise and fall of the sea in the rhythmic pattern that we call the tides is among the most striking of natural phenomena. Men became aware of the tides and marveled at them long before they had the least idea of what caused them. The ancient Chinese attributed them to the respiration of a huge earth monster. According to the Scandinavian sagas, Thor, the god of aerial forces, produced tides as he alternately raised the waters of the sea by blowing upon them and then let them fall back again. Now the crazy thing is that an animal breathing, it could be, right? Thor blowing, comes up, stops blowing, back the same way it came. I'm just saying, right? Just saying. Though the mystery of the tides has not been completely solved, we now have a good idea of how they arise. We can measure them quite accurately. We can predict the time of their ebb and flow. Yet, the tides still represent, as in ages past, an irresistible force with which men in various parts of the world must always reckon. A big ship in harbour must often wait for slack water to approach its pier, otherwise strong tidal currents might cause a crash. Where there is a great range between high and low tide, as in the Bay of Fundy, all port activities may have to be practically suspended at intervals so that vessels may not be stranded in low water. In certain cases, tides advance so rapidly and with such force that it is quite literally a matter of life and death to know when high tide is to be expected. The ocean tides are brought about by the gravitational attraction between the Earth and two heavenly bodies, the Moon and the Sun. The crust of the Earth is also affected by this attraction, but its movement is so slight that special instruments must be used to detect it. The Earth's sister planets and the stars and all the other objects in the skies also attract our planet and are attracted by it, but they are either too small or too far off to have any appreciable influence on the waters of the sea. 1961. This has been pumped relentlessly. It was going to get questioned eventually. I'm sure other people have. It's right here. The tide raising effect of the sun is only about 0.46 times that of the moon, in spite of the fact that the mass of the sun is about 28 million times greater. Here we go. Buckle up, Dorothy. Calma. Calma. According to Newton's law of universal gravitation, the force of attraction that various bodies have for one another is directly proportional to the product of their masses, but inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Ole. The sun is about 93 million miles from the Earth. The moon, our nearest neighbour in space, is only about 238,000 miles distant. The smaller distance between the moon and the Earth more than makes up for the greater mass of the sun. Hence, the ocean waters respond particularly to the moon's gravitational pull. In the diagram on this page, we assume the water completely covers the face of Earth. This is 1961. This bulge has been going on, right, this far back, right? Now, just a little bit more to go. Ready? When the moon is direct, no, we're not going to do this. We know the bulge. We know about that. Let's go spring tides and neap tides. We have already mentioned one of these factors, the fact that both the sun and the moon are pulling at the Earth. The moon's tide raising power is greater, as we have seen, than that of the sun, yet the sun's attraction is strong like bull. At the time of the new moon and of the full moon, about a fortnight apart, the sun, moon and Earth are approximately in a straight line. These are, word for word, are approximately in a straight line. The tidal forces generated by the sun reinforce those of the moon. The moon's tide raising power is greater, as we have seen, than that of the sun, yet the sun's attraction is strong. At the time of the new moon and the full moon, about a fortnight apart, the sun, moon and Earth are approximately in a straight line. They are sun, moon, Earth, and then when it's full moon, sun, Earth, moon. It says here, probably a straight line. The tidal forces generated by the sun reinforce those of the moon. It does not. It does not. In the new moon position. It just does not. This is where there is a blatant lie and it's not being picked up. I'm going to pause you for a second again. All right, so here we are. Sun, Earth, Moon. Sun, Moon, Earth. It says in the book that we are approximately in a straight line in the full moon position and the new moon position. This right here is full moon. This is the new moon. We're here. We cannot see this because of that horseradish. The thing is, they are approximately in a straight line. The sun reinforces the moon's gravitational pull. How? How does it reinforce when they're both on opposite sides? Here, yes, you could give them that one, but there's obviously no gravitational pull because it's second highest tides, the new moon, and they are fighting each other tooth and nail. It's a lie, a blatant lie. It defies logic and it defies common sense. And yes, common sense is valid in this scenario. It's needed. They are blatantly lying. 1961, and it's just carried on. It's just carried on saying that here, no, sorry, this one, that the sun is reinforcing the freaking, that they're fighting. It's unbelievable that this stuff hasn't been picked up. This is gravity. It's big. It's a lie. It's a blatant lie, and it's obvious, right? Here's another one where the moon's tide raising force may be 40% greater than the apogee when the moon is farthest from Earth. So when it's the closest to Earth, its pull is 40% stronger. What a load of rubbish. The force of attraction between the Earth and the Moon and the Earth and the Sun sets the water in these basins oscillating about a central point. Look, I jumped into a sentence there. This stuff, right? It's one thing after another. In the Pacific and Indian Oceans, mixed tides are more prevalent. In these, the two high tides in one lunar day may be about equal, while the low tides are very unequal, or else the situation may be reversed. What does that say? It says absolutely nothing. It's the details. Generally speaking, tides follow the lunar day of about 24 hours and 50 minutes. Where there are semi-diurnal tides, there will be an interval of about 6 hours, 12 and a half minutes between a high tide and the next low tide, and between a low tide and the next high tide. In some places, however, the tides seem to be based on the solar day rather than the lunar day. What? What do you mean they seem to be? Right here, people should be paying attention to what is being said. Honestly, in Tahiti, for example, high tide takes place at about noon and midnight, low tide at about 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. The reason seems to be that Tahiti is at the node of a basin whose waters are set in oscillation by the moon. Since there is very little relation to the tide producing force of the moon in this nodal area, the waters follow the tidal pattern set by the pull of the sun. Have you ever heard anything so stupid? Listen, it's a trick. The reason seems to be that Tahiti is at the node of a basin whose waters are set in oscillation by the moon. Did you get that? You must listen. By the moon. Since there is very little relation to the tide producing force of the moon in this nodal area, even though it's a nodal area, it's just an insult to people's intelligence. Since there is very little relation to the tide producing force of the moon in this nodal area, the waters follow the tidal pattern set by the pull of the sun. The tides serve as a brake on the rotation of the Earth. Their friction on the ocean floor, particularly in shallow waters like the Bering Sea, robs the Earth of its energy of rotation. This loss is very small. It has been calculated that it is only about 1/10 billionth of the total rotational energy of the Earth. Not finished. However, it slows up the Earth enough so that the day is lengthened by about 1,000th of a second every century. Folks, it's bullshit. Nobody knows that. There are people out there who are making out they are way more intelligent than they really are, and they are claiming knowledge that cannot be known, and they've claimed achievements that haven't been achieved. And here we are. And folks, it's time to wake up. I'm going to call that must be a wrap. I don't want to do that again. Not today anyway. But I will if I have to. We're not leaving anyone behind. Wake up, folks. We are being hijacked. All right, folks. It's a wrap in it. Hang on. Let me just check that I've not forgotten anything. Yes, I have forgotten something. As much as we love the fucking moon, it's not. That's a wrap, innit? Laters.